When you pull up to the pump, click the nozzle into place, and start filling your tank, you probably assume you're buying the exact same petrol you always have. But recently, the chemistry flowing through that hose quietly changed. Online, mechanics and daily commuters are reporting sudden engine stalling, degraded fuel lines, and a noticeable drop in mileage. At the same time, official government channels are celebrating this exact same fuel as an economic miracle. The source of this debate comes down to 3 letters printed on the pump: E20. That means the liquid going into your car is now a blend of 20% ethanol and 80% petrol. For thousands of angry drivers and a proud government to both be right, we have to look past the fuel tank and examine the country's balance sheet. This chart shows the massive volume of crude oil India imports compared to its domestic production. For decades, the country has relied on overseas oil, draining billions of dollars in foreign exchange reserves every single year, just to keep the economy moving. To plug that financial leak, the government designed a substitution effort. By blending in 20% ethanol, an alcohol derived directly from domestic agricultural crops like sugarcane, they can immediately reduce those expensive crude oil imports. The math is highly effective. Billions of dollars that once left the country now flow directly into the local rural economy. Additionally, because ethanol burns cleaner, it physically lowers tailpipe emissions in crowded cities. On paper, the E20 mandate serves as a necessary shield for the nation's economic future. That makes the trail of stalled cars and broken seals left in its wake a serious engineering puzzle. Understanding why a sound economic policy is breaking engines requires moving from the balance sheet to the molecular level. This diagram shows a standard hydrocarbon chain found in normal petrol sitting next to a molecule of ethanol. The critical difference is this hydroxyl group, made of 1 oxygen and 1 hydrogen atom, attached to the ethanol. That hydroxyl group gives ethanol a property called hygroscopy. It acts as a chemical magnet, pulling moisture straight out of the surrounding air and trapping it inside the fuel mixture. Eventually, the ethanol absorbs so much water that it hits a physical threshold known as phase separation. The waterlogged ethanol becomes heavier than the surrounding petrol and separates, sinking to the very bottom of the fuel tank. Because the fuel pump sits at the bottom of the tank, it begins sucking up a corrosive water mixture instead of pure combustible petrol. This infographic highlights the immediate mechanical consequences of that water mixture. When waterlogged ethanol rests against the bare steel inside older fuel tanks and lines, it triggers rapid oxidation, causing the metal to rust from the inside out. Beyond the water issue, ethanol acts as a harsh solvent. When it comes into contact with the standard rubber seals and plastic hoses used in older engines, it attacks the elastomers, causing them to swell, weaken, and eventually crack. The widespread drop in mileage reported by drivers is a direct consequence of the laws of thermodynamics. Ethanol possesses a naturally lower energy density than petrol. Because a single liter of ethanol holds less energy, your engine must burn a higher volume of fuel to travel the same distance, resulting in a routine 3 to 7% drop in efficiency. In short, E20's chemical structure actively deconstructs the architecture of older engines while providing less power per liter. We are left with a fundamental paradox. E20 is an essential tool for national energy security, but it is deeply incompatible with the physical materials used in millions of machines already on the road. Automakers have addressed this for their newest fleets. Modern BS6 vehicles use upgraded, corrosion-resistant metals and specialized synthetic elastomers designed specifically to withstand ethanol. The risk falls primarily on the older generation of cars and the vast population of daily two-wheeler commuters. They have been drafted into a fuel ecosystem their engines were never engineered to handle. If you own one of these older vehicles, protection comes down to maintenance. Avoid letting fuel sit stagnant for long periods, follow strict service schedules, and swap out aging rubber fuel lines for modern, ethanol-compatible alternatives. India's shift toward energy independence is a necessary evolution. However, the friction and the financial cost of that transition are currently being paid by the owners of yesterday's vehicles.